Round 2 of Sports Talk up next with your hosts Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, Hour 2 on this Wednesday evening, the 2nd day of May, 2018. Along with Phil Kornblut, Professor Tom Hayes, I'm Will Pelagic. Thank you so much for joining us. We were going to continue our look around the spring football recaps for the opponents for both Clemson and South Carolina. We did a Carolina opponent yesterday with Tennessee. We will start with the Clemson opponent today and look at Florida State as we bring in now, covering Florida State Seminoles, Ira Schoffel. He joins us here on Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. How are things in Tallahassee, Ira?
Things are great. Thanks for having me on.
So the Florida State situation right now, as it sits, obviously new coach, not a new quarterback, but obviously one who didn't see a lot of time last year due to injury. What is the situation, and how did Florida State come out of spring?
Well, the quarterback situation is not resolved, and it's probably not going to be resolved until preseason camp because you had James Blackman, the true freshman that played last year when DeAndre Francois got hurt. And he played pretty well, had his ups and downs. Francois is going to be back this fall, but he really wasn't back to full speed this spring. So he did a lot of things, but he didn't do any of the full team exercises like group 11 on 11, anything like that. So the competition is really going to carry over till preseason practice. And, if you talk to 10 different people, you might get 5 people who think Francois should get it, 5 people who think Blackman should get it. So that's going to be the big storyline going into preseason camp.
Was it more than just, the quarterback? Because, again, we saw Florida State last year, and it was just – it seemed to us that for a school that brings in so much talent that they do, it seemed very inconsistent with how things kind of fell apart at the seams there just because of the one position.
Yeah, I think that was probably I would say that probably started the snowball. Because they looked pretty good in that Alabama game. I thought they played toe-to-toe with Alabama. The defense played really well until probably midway through the second half. The offense wasn't great, but they seemed like they could compete with one of the best teams in the country. And then, things kind of started spiraling. And then once they started losing, just the team kind of fell apart. I think it all culminated, when you see them get blown out at Boston College. That's just that doesn't make any sense at all. And I think, things just unraveled. And then as the season went on and Jimbo Fisher is flirting with Texas A&M and it turns out he's taking that job, everything kind of just spiraled. So I don't think that season is indicative of the talent on the team. But at the same point, you are what your record is. So they've got a lot to prove.
You look at what you got coming back at Florida State, Ira, and the offense, returns almost all its yards. I know they lose Tate, the receiver, to the NFL, but you got the running backs back and you got both the quarterbacks back, receivers who caught a lot of balls and had a lot of yards and touchdowns. It looks like offensively with Willie Taggart and his history for producing great offenses, that this could be a match made in heaven on the offensive side.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of excitement about what they're going to do offensively. I think that everything he preaches. His big thing is simplicity and really keeping things simple. And the overall philosophy is get great talent, keep things simple, let them go out, execute, and make plays, and let their talent rise to the surface. Is very much it resonates with FSU fans, who a lot of people felt like, especially the last few years after Jameis Winston left, that it was just such a chore. They couldn't get receivers who understood all the routes. They couldn't get a quarterback who was on the same page with the receivers. They couldn't get an offensive line that would block consistently because they had so much going on, so many different assignments. And so the idea of simplifying things really resonates to fans, and people are excited about that. And I think if that holds true, if that philosophy works, which I think it should, I think it's going to pay off. They definitely have talent. I mean, Cam Akers at running back, Jaquez Patrick at running back, the receivers, Nyquan Murray's back. They also have some really talented young receivers, a guy like DJ Matthews and Tamori and Terry. They've got some guys who we really haven't seen on Saturdays as much, but really are impressive physical players. So I think this offense has a chance to do really good things. I don't know if either quarterback is great, though. I think Francois and Blackman both have started for a year. I don't know if either one of them would be considered or will ever be considered a great college quarterback. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Now, to be a great quarterback, you have to be, standing straight up. And it seems like the last couple of years, Florida State's quarterbacks, they don't just get hit, they get drilled. The offensive line, especially the depth this year, how does it look for them and going forward, protecting the quarterback better than they have in the last couple of years?
There's no doubt. I mean, the people down here started classifying the hits on the quarterbacks as, that's another chalk out line. Because it would just look like a crime scene after some of these guys got hit. But, I don't know. I don't think that's going to be a strong suit. But I think they'll be better than they have been. And the reason why is going back to that simplistic approach. From talking to people inside the program, they feel like, the offensive line wasn't physically what it needed to be, but they also were really bogged down with what they were being asked to do mentally. And a lot of it was kind of, NFL type stuff. And when you only have kids for 20 hours a week and they're kind of getting bogged down in assignments and not just playing and not being aggressive, that sometimes leads to, just blown assignments because guys are thinking too much. So I think that's one way it could be better. As far as the depth, they're not super deep on the offensive line. I think they're going to end up with probably 7 or 8 guys that they feel pretty good about, the 5 starters and a couple backups. If they have more than a couple problems, injuries, or suspensions or something like that, that would be a huge problem for them because they don't have a ton of depth.
Whether it's in recruiting, as we're talking to Ira Schoffel, a managing editor of War Chant, Rivals Network, obviously covering Florida State, whether it's in recruiting or even just whatever staples he might use, how has Willie Taggart put his initial staple on this program? What have his first few months been like?
Really, the overriding thing has been trying to get the kids to play with passion and to have fun. One of the things he said when he watched film of Florida State last season, and then also when he came and watched some of the bowl practices, he didn't coach the bowl practices or the bowl game, but he watched some of them. And he said he was amazed at how little passion there was, and guys weren't playing for each other. Guys weren't selling out for each other. They also, sometimes they wouldn't even celebrate. There would be a big play and everybody would just walk back to the huddle. So he literally has had them take time to work on celebrations and work on, they just having fun again. And so I think that's probably been the biggest macro thing that he's done. On a micro level, he's really worked on accountability. He's really worked on trying to get the guys to realize that there's more to football than just what you do on the field, but it's, going to class, it's going to meetings, it's being more active with your teammates. He's doing a lot of things behind the scenes that I think are going to pay off for Florida State in the long run. I think over these last couple of years, it seemed like a lot of those things, the intangible things, I think kind of got lost in this Florida State program.
Real quick, we got about 90 seconds with you. The defense, losing a lot of people, a lot of production on the defense. Do they have replacements suitable to fill in those holes?
Right now everybody's excited about the young talent on defense. So nobody's too worried about that. But at the end of the day, they are going to be very young on defense. I mean, you lost two starters on the defensive line. You lost all three starting linebackers. You lost a couple starters in the secondary, as well as some backups who had played a lot. So there's going to be a lot of new faces on the defense, but there's also a lot of talent. I mean, they're really excited about the young defensive back, Stanford Samuels, who came on late last year as a freshman. He'll be starting at one corner. Levante Taylor, who was a big-time recruit a couple of years ago, he'll be back for his second year as a starter at the other corner. The young safeties, they got Hamza Nasruddin from up in the Carolinas, who's a really talented player. I think he'll be replacing Derwin James. And then the linebackers, they're going to be a little bit more undersized, but really a star that nobody knew about coming into spring is Derek Brooks' son, Kalen Brooks. Was not a huge recruit because he's a little undersized, but as a redshirt freshman, he had a great spring, and he's somebody they think that is going to rack up a lot of tackles this fall.
WarChant.com's Ira Schoffel on the Rivals Network covering Florida State. Thanks so much for the time, Ira.
Thanks, guys. Anytime.
Ira joins us here on Sports Talk. We'll try tomorrow to get someone from Texas A&M.
Willie Taggart has a losing record as a head coach. You know that? 47-50.
So did Coach K when he was hired at Duke.
He only has one 10-win season on his resume.
The reason we're doing the Aggies tomorrow is because the Gamecocks' newest commitment is an Aggie, or was an Aggie, and he joins us next. You had a recruiting note, Corn, on Jalik Felton you wanted to pass along before we talked to the newest Gamecock football commit.
Yeah, Jalik Felton, of course, we're following what's happening there. Not a whole lot happening, just a little bit of an update. Things could start to happen here pretty soon because I think he was waiting for his uncle, Raymond Felton Jr., to finish up his NBA season, which is now over. And I think a lot of what he decides to do moving forward, he will get advice from his uncle. So that's now available for him, and we can see some things start to happen here in the near future. But right now, the immediate future for USC football got a little brighter today as Nick Harvey, the former Texas A&M cornerback, announced on Twitter that he would play his transfer year, his grad transfer season with the Gamecocks, and Nick joins us now here on Sports Talk. First of all, Nick, congratulations on your decision. Thank you for joining us. How are things with you?
Thank you, man. I'm doing pretty good. Just a sour relief. Glad to be a Gamecock.
Well, you've been through recruiting twice. What's tougher, as a high school standout or as a starter in the SEC trying to find a new home?
I feel like this time around was more tough because, I mean, they know you can play and they know you can come in and help the team win games. So, I mean, I feel like this one was more tougher than coming out of high school.
Why is this a good time for you to move? You missed last year with the knee injury, the new coaching staff coming in. Will you tell us what your feelings were about Texas A&M and why you decided to take the move elsewhere?
I had a good feeling about the coaches. Nothing negative to say about them. And I just felt like it was time for me to try something different with my playing career. I feel like South Carolina, it's the best fit for me. Even after taking all the visits that I took, I feel like it was the best fit for me. Then actually being able to sit down with T-Rob and Coach Muschamp, it was a great visit with them.
What attracted you to the Gamecocks?
You said what?
What attracted you to South Carolina?
I know they finished second in the SEC East last year. And I just want to come in and help the team win some more games. One person can't really change the whole team because it's a team sport. But I mean, I feel like I can contribute to winning more games.
So when you had your meetings with Muschamp and T-Rob and they talked defense with you and what you do and what they do and what they want to do with you, what did they tell you about how they want to use you?
Oh, the plan is to help me at the other corner spot.
Opposite Fenton?
Yeah, opposite of Fenton.
Mm-hmm.
Then moving Keyshawn Nixon to the nickel.
And what did they say? Of course, they've seen a lot of film of you. It's not like you're a high school guy. I mean, you've got 3 years of college film to be studied. What did they say they like about you as a corner?
They just like the way I play the game, and then the confidence that I have on the field, and then the swag that I show when actually playing the game. I mean, it's a lot of things that they said, but I feel like they were happy to have me come along.
Now, you played at Williams-Brice Stadium a couple of times in an opposing uniform. What do you remember about the stadium?
Man, it's crazy fans. A lot of fans reminded me of College Station a little bit. I actually played my first game ever there, my freshman year, and I really didn't know what was going on. The game was crazy. The fans was crazy, and I felt like I could play in front of fans like that.
Yeah, y'all beat the Gamecocks up pretty good that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, the quarterback just go crazy. It's funny how things change. I mean, that started a Heisman campaign talk for him, and by the end of the year, I think he was ready to transfer or did transfer somewhere else. So,
yeah, he did.
Talking with Nick Harvey, who is headed to South Carolina. So tell us, at the end of the day here, you had South Carolina, Tennessee, Auburn, Arizona, I think Florida, Oklahoma State. What made the difference with South Carolina, and who did it come down to? Who was the other school that you were measuring South Carolina against the most?
I actually had none of those schools that you just named in my top. I never really got it down to like a top 2 or top 3. South Carolina just, to me, was the best fit for me. Feel like I can come in and contribute to more wins, and then having a good relationship with T-Rob and Coach Muschamp, that was really a main reason that I chose South Carolina.
What did you learn about not only your game, but just the game at large in the year spent off the field?
I learned that it's a lot of stuff that can go on during the season. You can be at your lowest point and then still have coaches to back you up, to motivate you, and also your teammates. At your lowest points, I know you can get off the ground and fight through adversity, and that's something that I learned throughout my years here at A&M. And I feel like I can come in and have the same results in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, you got another guy in Texas, eBay from TCU, also a grad student transferring in. Any time during the recruiting time, did you have any chance to make any connections with him and talk about his visit or the fact that you both will be acclimating to a new defensive structure?
We actually never got the chance to talk to each other, but I want to actually get in touch with him, see what his thoughts is about him choosing South Carolina, and then we can kind of compare our thoughts and then go from there.
All right, talking with Nick Harvey for a couple of more minutes. How is the knee? You missed all of last season with the knee injury, so how are you coming along with the knee, and when do you get to Columbia?
I actually got cleared to if I wanted to play in the bowl game, but then that would have been my year or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I chose not to. I feel like my knee is good as new. It feels like I just got a new knee, and everything. I've been doing everything like lifting weights, doing DB drills, jumping, running. I just feel like I'm ready to go, and I'll probably be in Columbia either later this month or the first week in June.
Who did you connect with the most on your visit and in your interactions with the players on this team? And what was your impression on the secondary room just as a whole?
They had me with Keyshawn Nixon, and I mean, like, he laid it all out for me. He's being real with me. Told me everything I really need to know. I didn't even have to ask him questions pretty much. And then with the DB room, I feel like there's a lot of talent in there, and they know the game. I actually sat into a meeting, and they know the defense in and out. So I feel like I can come in and learn from either coaches or the players that's in the secondary.
What did he feel about moving to nickel? I know that's something that obviously he's kind of a plug and play kind of guy. Have you talked to him about just kind of those plans that the coaches have talked to you about moving him out to nickel?
He actually liked the decision. He's a bigger body than me, so they feel like if he wanted to, he could play linebacker if he wanted to. Then he can go out there and cover the best receiver that's in the slot or whatever. So I feel like he actually liked the decision.
Hey, Nick, we appreciate it, man. Congratulations once again. Enjoy a little bit of spring downtime that you've got, and we look forward to covering your season when you get to South Carolina. Thanks for joining us tonight.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, Nick Harvey coming to South Carolina. Just looking at the Gamecocks senior class now, when you throw these grad transfers in, they've got now 5 in their secondary who will be seniors or grad transfers. So all of a sudden, you got some graybeards back there. That's a good thing.
Did just get this news in. Clemson is headed to the Bryan, Texas regional, the NCAA men's golf selection happening today. South Carolina will join them at the Tradition Club in Bryan, Texas. Coastal Carolina's men's team will play in Kissimmee, Florida as well.
And I think really also, Corn, one of the reasons they like Nixon at the nickel is the fact that they want to get some more help with guys who are not afraid to go into the box and make tackles. You know, Sky Moore isn't there anymore, and Mr. Brunson, you need a little bit more help in the backside here.
Well, Williams also there.
You bring a guy who's willing to tackle in that secondary coming up on those running backs.
Well, that concludes the South Carolina and Clemson portion of the program. We will bring the Captain Billy Donner in for the SC Wild portion of Sports Talk,
also known as the Citadel portion of Sports Talk.
That comes your way next on Sports Talk.
Fresh flavor.
It's time to get wild with SC Wild. Everything hunting and fishing from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources and your host, Phil Kornblut. SC Wild on Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network.
It is SC Wild here on Sports Talk on this Wednesday night. We welcome back into the studios the captain, Billy Downer. How are you, sir?
Doing great. Glad to be back from West Virginia. Enjoyed my time there.
Make any friends there, huh?
Yes, made some great friends there. Sure did. Was there with 36 other officers from across the 35 other officers from across the country at the National Conservation Training Center, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and has in Shepherdstown, West Virginia. So
bad thing about West Virginia is you just everywhere you go, you have to go in a curve.
Corn, the bad thing about West Virginia is it's West Virginia.
Oh, that's cold now. I mean, it's a fun state, but I mean, you got all those mountains. You can't get from point A to point B without having to go around a mountain, around a curve.
There's a lot of hills.
Unlike the great state of South Carolina, where we've got some straight lines here.
We got the mountains to see. We love it.
All right, let's get to it. If you have a question for the captain, by the way, feel free to ring us up, 800-956-7266, or you can shoot us a note at Twitter at SportsTalkSC or on our email, at SportsTalkSC.com. You were going to say something.
Yeah, we're wrapping up turkey season. This Saturday, the 5th, is the last day of turkey season. So, again, for those of you that may not have gotten your gobbler out there, there's still a few days left. Gobbling intensity is up, which means the gobblers are sounding off. Typically this time of year more because the hens have gone to the nest, and so they're looking for hens to come to them, so they're gobbling a lot, which may make them a little more susceptible to calling from hunters. So there is a few more days left. Again, remember, you must have your tags with you in your possession if you're hunting turkeys, and make sure to tag the bird at the point of kill before you move it.
Have we had a good year in terms of people obeying the tag laws?
Yes, I haven't heard a whole lot. I've been very good with turkeys. A lot of folks seeing turkeys now. Been struggled at first. We kind of hard. That first week was tough. Bad weather, cold, rainy, wind, all these things just made it kind of tough the first week. But second week, folks caught up a lot. A lot of folks having some success with turkeys this year. Saltwater report. Talked to my good friend, First Sergeant Hughie McClellan in McClellanville. McClellan from the clan McClellan. He gave us a report that the inshore bite is slow right now.
Is he part of the family that McClellanville is named for?
That's why I said that.
Well, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
I would sure move if I was named after a town like that.
Oh, yeah. And he is, he has grown up on the water, shrimp boats. I mean, that's been his life. We're glad to have him as just a great guy.
See,
good cook, too.
Latta used to be called Cornblute Town, but
I don't remember that.
You couldn't get that name on a driver's license, so they shortened it to Latta.
Seems like fake news. Seems fake news.
Yeah, doesn't sound right. But
thought I'd make that up.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So inshore bite is slow. Water temperature is pretty cool right now. So the average temperature right now is about 70 degrees, so a little cool for inshore. They are catching some redfish. Flounder are starting to bite. But again, a little bit slow. Remember, we keep talking about our speckled trout, sea trout, making sure that we're asking folks to voluntarily release those fish. If you catch speckled trout, let them go because of the cold kill-off we had back in January. It's very cold temperatures.
How much will it take, with this weather we're having, how much will it take to get those temperatures back up to, I guess, more normal now?
If we get weather like in the 80s, it won't take another week or two to get that water temperature up to where the fish will bite. But it takes consistent temperatures in the 80s to get that water temperature up. But offshore, different story. Got the word today. He just says that the dolphin bite is off to a great start as of yesterday and today. Good bite today as well. A lot of dolphin being caught all of a sudden the last 2 days from the southwest banks to the Georgetown Hole, which are offshore areas. Phil, so you know that's way off. We're talking 45 miles off.
Outer Banks?
No, the southwest banks. That's off of South Carolina.
Okay.
Up to the Georgetown
No. I'm
Hole.
sorry, not Outer Banks, but what's it called off the coast of South Carolina when you go out about 45, 50 miles?
Like Grand Banks or the
Outer Banks is North Carolina.
You're talking about shelf, continental shelf.
Yeah, but there's another. I hear fishermen talk
Stream.
about it. Yeah, that's still not it. I'll think of it.
Not sure what you mean.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
Yeah.
So dolphin are biting though. So keep that in mind. Wahoo said are slowing down a little bit. So that's our saltwater fishing report for now.
Have you had dolphin?
I have.
You like dolphin?
Mahi. Very good.
Yeah. Oh, mahi is.
That is dolphin.
I never knew that.
Yes. Same thing. Another good fish I've had that's very good is swordfish. I actually had mako shark. That's actually good. That's going to be substitute for swordfish. Very similar.
How do you like to cook your mahi?
Grill it. Yep. Grill a mahi.
Little blackening
Little
season.
blackened. Yep. That's good. Grill it as a steak. A dolphin steak is where I would like to have it. Sure.
Is there any limits?
Steaks too.
Are there any limits in place for what you can pull?
Oh, there are limits. Offshore limits, and I am not as familiar with the limits on the offshore. I have to look that one up, Phil. So,
see, you never know what you're going to get.
You never
That's
know
called a
what question you're gonna
curveball.
get. That was a curveball.
I'm known, Sandy Koufax.
Little change up pitch out of the corn.
No, that's curveball.
Yes, but
Complete
we can
curveball.
look that one up.
Yeah.
Corn and check on that.
Yeah.
In the meantime, though, as we're looking that up, since we're talking about warmer weather, the boating is becoming more and more popular here in the last few weeks. As warmer temperatures hit, we are looking at a lot of folks going to the water.
Yeah.
This spring, South Carolina. Now we talked about in the past we ranked 8th. Now we rank 7th in the nation with over 500,000 registered boats. A lot of people continue to forget that South Carolina is 30% water, have a lot of beautiful waterways all the way up in the upstate from Lake Hartwell, Lake Kiowee, all the way down through Lake Murray here in Columbia, Lake Marion down in the Manning area, Sumter area, and then all the way down to the coast. Of course, we've got our intercoastal waterway, and you got Beaufort, and you've got all the way up through Myrtle Beach, all that beautiful saltwater area to recreate. So a lot of great areas to boat in South Carolina. A couple of things we want to start talking about as we get back into boating. We always talk about this, reminding you about boating safety. You hear our messages during baseball games. We talk about it this time of year because as people begin to get back on the water, they sometimes forget to check their safety equipment before they go out. So a couple of things we're going to go through today to just remind folks, before you go out, I always ask folks to checklist things. Go out and check the boat. Make sure you check the life jackets. Make sure you got enough life jackets on board for everybody that's going to be in your boat. Make sure they're in good condition. Good condition is important this time of year because most people store their life jackets up under the boat, up under the deck, up under the seats, where they can get wet during the winter. They get hot, warm, cold.
Describe good condition. What's acceptable condition?
All right, good condition means if you hit the water, it's not going to fall apart on you.
Okay.
So
it's going to float.
It's going to float you, exactly.
Yeah.
The stuffing doesn't come out.
Yeah.
Making sure that your straps don't rip off. The last thing you want to do is need a life jacket. You hit the water and everything comes out from in the middle of it. And you've got a piece of cloth sitting there. That's not going to be good. So check your life jackets. Make sure they're in working condition. Look for small rips or tears that may form from mold spots where, again, life jackets been left outside. People put them in sheds and things outside. A lot of people just forget to take care of the life jackets. So make sure you count the life jackets, that you make sure they're in good condition, and then put them in the boat where you can get to them. In other words, they need to be readily accessible. By Coast Guard standard, they must be able to be, you need to be able to get to them in time of emergency. Under a seat, locked up is not readily accessible. They need to be where you can get to them. Of course, we always ask folks to wear their life jackets when on the water, but we know that everyone's not going to do that. If it's a perfect world, everybody wear the life jacket just like a seatbelt. But we want you to make sure you have life jackets where you can get to them. So that's a big part, life jackets. Next thing people start thinking about, and people do think about safety equipment. They'll forget about that fire extinguisher though sometimes. Fire extinguisher, if you have a fire in a boat, kind of important to have a fire extinguisher if you need to put the fire out. Particularly when you've got gasoline in a small compartment in boats, a fire extinguisher could be a big deal. So make sure your fire extinguisher is in good working order. Make sure that the arrow says it's in good. Most fire extinguishers have a gauge. Make sure you check that gauge and it's not stuck. It's a good idea every couple of years to get a brand new fire extinguisher anyway. Most boats in South Carolina, a B1, which is a certain size light fire extinguisher, will work for your boat. But if you get a larger boat, you may require two B1s or a B2, which are just different size canisters. So check the fire extinguisher. The other thing, whistles. Make sure you got a whistle on your boat so you can sound for if you need emergency.
A whistle.
A whistle. Or a horn. So
now, this is not required. This is advice.
This is actually required.
This is a whistle is required.
A whistle is required on any boat.
I did not know that. I've been on a lot of boats. I've never seen a whistle.
They may have had a horn.
Oh, whistle or horn.
Whistle or horn.
Okay.
That's right.
He's corn, by the way.
He's corn. So when we get back, we'll review some more boating tips for this spring.
It's time to get wild with SC Wild. Everything hunting and fishing from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources and your host, Phil Kornblut. SC Wild on Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network.
We thought we caught corn in a rock and a hard place.
No.
Let's go back to dolphin for just a moment, folks. We did
Dolphin.
talk about dolphin offshore, and I did want to mention I did find the limit. So yes, I am not.
See, you
I'm
think
not-
you're the smartest man. in
Well,
the
you
room.
know, hey, sometimes you got to answer off the wall questions, and we'll go to you in just a moment. We'll stand by 10 per person per day, not to exceed 60 per boat, 20-inch fork length. And fork length is a different way of measuring your fork length on the fish. So,
10 per person, that's a pretty good number.
See, now,
You pull in 10 dolphin.
as,
and you got some good food. That's correct.
as Corn would tell you, it is not the bottlenose dolphin that you necessarily are talking about. You're talking about the dolphin fish.
Yes,
Correct.
of course.
We did realize that
Not flipper. We're not talking about flipper here.
that Phil wasn't sure about what dolphin we're talking about. I didn't feel. Did you?
I didn't. I was
I don't know
unaware.
why you would feel that way.
I don't feel like Coin understood the difference between the mammal dolphin and the dolphin
Well, I mean,
fish.
because the mammal dolphin has
Please
hair
let's
and
continue. What
it has
the mammal dolphin has hair.
it can feed its young, you know, it
can
produces
feed
its
its-
young.
okay,
oh,
Feeds
okay.
young and things like that.
Tailbone also
That's
helps.
a typical having
So-
hair is part of being a mammal. according
What
to
was
the
your
definition.
question at the break? I think you asked him what was the difference between what was it?
A dolphin fish and a dolphin
See?
mammal.
So you said a dolphin mammal has hair.
A warm-blooded vertebrate animal of a class that is
Backbone.
distinguished by the possession of hair or fur, the secretion of milk by females for the nourishment of the young,
Talking about bears now.
and typically the birth of live young. That's the
Dolphins
definition
do,
of
dolphin
mammal.
do it. Now, what is the difference in a dolphin fish and a dolphin mammal, the bottlenose dolphin and the dolphin mahi-mahi? What would be the major difference? Simple. Let's go take it down to the basic level.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you that now. You're
The dolphin mammal
mammal
breathes
Breathes
oxygen from
oxygen.
the air
from the air.
and holds its breath underwater.
Dolphin fish have gills. Corn.
The dolphin fish, because the fish has gills.
So it can take the water and create its own air that way.
It
Dolphin-
breathes
dol-
oxygen. from
Dolphins have to
water.
come up for air every so often.
Correct. Fish take their oxygen from the water through the gill plates, through the gills. So the dolphin, the bottlenose dolphin, has to breathe air.
You
It's
know,
like a whale.
they didn't do biology at Latta High School. I don't
It's
think.
okay.
Actually, we did.
I thought this was
just
very
didn't do fish
entertaining. I thought it was
biology.
worth mentioning to get him straight.
No, you
I
thought
don't
you
want
caught
him
me
to
on
embarrass
something. I
himself
was
later.
well prepared. I knew all about mammals, mahi,
By
and
Google.
dolphin.
By Google.
Well
you're
prepared.
It was the
Doesn't
middle of
matter
a
how you
break.
get prepared, as long as you're prepared. Unlike you, who did not know how many dolphin you could catch in a single.
You're still saying you're prepared with that answer. Anyway, all right. So moving back to boating for a moment.
Mhm.
Let's talk about boating a little bit more. So We've gone through the things you think about. We talked about life jackets. We talk about you learned about the whistle. You have to have a whistle on board your boat, or a horn, a sound device like that. You have to have a fire extinguisher if you got an enclosed gas tank. One of the things people fail to remember, though, going back on the water, is to check the registration, to make sure the registration on the boat did not expire during the wintertime when they're not using the boat as much. So when you're not looking at a boat, you're not thinking about registration, also take it out. And an officer comes up, how you doing? Want to check your registration? And you go, uh-oh, I forgot my registration expired back in February.
How much of a fine is that?
That fine could be anywhere from $175 and up.
It's a lot.
It could be expensive.
It's a lot.
Correct. So registration, check your registration, make sure your boat is registered.
Do you also have to have a trailer registered too?
No, not in this state.
Okay.
That's Virginia. A little extra knowledge
No
there.
No radar detectors in Virginia either, by the way.
That's correct. I just came back from there, so yes. So 3 years. Your registration is good for 3 years. You have to renew every 3 years. So check your registration on your sticker on the side of your boat. Make sure you have the registration card to match that. You're required to have that on board as well. So some of the things to check out. If you're going to be operating at night, make sure you have your navigation lights working. We talk about navigation lights. Why are they important? At night, they are how you tell where a boat is going. Most boats have 2 types of lights displayed at night: red and green side lights on the bow, often referred to as the bow light, and an all-around white light on the stern, also referred to as the stern light. If you ever wonder why the bow lights are red and green, and does it really matter which side's red or green, it absolutely does. These lights help other boats know what direction that you're traveling and help determine who is the stand-on boat, the boat that has the right-of-way, or the boat that's the giveaway boat, the boat that actually should change course. Too often people get out there and I've actually seen lights been flipped because it's just a little piece of plastic, red and green. So the red should be on your port side or the left side of the boat. Green should be on the starboard side or the right side of the boat. If you're traveling and the red light's on the left side of the boat and you're coming from that boat's left, what light are you going to see? The red boat, the red light. Red light tells you to stop. Just like green and red lights. If you're traveling, you see a boat with the green light and you're on the right side of that boat approaching them, you're going to see their green light. That tells you you have the right of way. They're going to see your red light. If you're approaching like this, you see their green light. They see your red light. That means for them to stop and for you to go right. You always give way to the right. Okay, at night. So there's some very important. The all-around light, probably the most important, though, because that's the light, because it's 360 degrees that folks can see you from the rear. Too many times people, though, particularly with pontoons, will fold that light down or it'll get caught up in the bimini top when it's folded up and you can't see the light. And people will run over you if they can't see your boat at night. You think you can see at night, but it's not always. Sometimes on a very dark night when it's cloud cover, you can't see a boat. And you'll be focusing on lights in the distance on the shore and you can run right through a boat. It happens too many times in the past. So make sure your all-around light is functioning so that folks can see you from 360 degrees. Very important. The other thing to keep in mind is people like to put the docking lights on the front of their boat, and they like to leave them on so they can see. If you put your docking lights on the front of your boat, it blinds boats that you're coming toward. They can't see your red and green bow lights, and that can cause a problem. So turn your docking lamps off when you're riding through the lake. Just a good idea. You can actually see better if you cut those lights off and other boats can see you.
What about drinking and driving a boat?
We always go back to drinking and driving on a boat. A little bit different on the water than in a car. In a boat, what's the rule? People want to always know what's the rule on drinking in a boat. On a boat in South Carolina, you may have an open container of beer. There's no such thing as an open container of beer on a boat when it comes to beer. Now, alcohol, we talking about liquor, it comes into different, your liquor laws are a little different. There's only very specific places you can have liquor open. So a boat's not one of those. It's in your home and a place of business that sells a liquor. But as far as beer, there's no open container law. So you can have an open container of beer, an open beer on the boat and be completely within the law. In fact, as a driver, we don't see, a driver has a beer next to them. Doesn't mean they're going to get arrested. They can have that beer open. The main point is we don't want anyone to drive impaired. The word impaired is important. What is impaired? Impaired is different for everyone. It doesn't mean 2 beers only. It doesn't mean 1 beer. Doesn't mean 8 beers. It could be 1 beer for some people. Impaired means that you're not able to have all your faculties when you're driving that boat. And if you're driving a boat, you want to make sure, more than even in a car, because boats don't have brakes, you want to make sure that you know what's going on around you. You can be defensive when you're boating. If someone falls in front of you, that you can react to that, somebody skiing, because it happens all the time, that you can have quick reaction, have all your skills and your faculties about you. If you're going to drink on a boat, we always suggest that you designate a driver for the boat, just like a car.
Sure.
Designate a driver so they're not drinking, so that they can drive the boat and you can enjoy yourself on the boat without having to worry about driving. Again, not against the law to have an open container on a boat, but we want you to be safe. So what is the big thing on water? Remember this. Alcohol in the water affects you 3 times as much as on land, which means 2 beers on the water can be as much as 6 beers on land because of what we call the lake effect. Wind, the rocking of the boat, the engine noise, the sun, all adds to how alcohol affects your body and can make you more susceptible to the effects of alcohol.
Real quick, how about boater education?
Boater education, we have 2 ways of taking the course. Free classroom course. Go to dnr.sc.gov to look for a boating course near you. Look for a boater education icon, and you can click the tab that says find a course near you, or you can go online to the internet course, dnr.sc.gov as well. Take the internet course. It costs just around $29, and you can take that at your own speed, at your own pace, whenever you have time.
Thank you, Billy. We'll see you next time.
More about dolphins.
I want to talk about crabs.
We'll do that.